Hi, and welcome back. And as I said in the last episode, because I've only just recorded the ending for that, Gearbox has got to come out. Seems like there's a problem with the threads that bolt the main body to the bell housing. Seems to be a bit of play there, which I'm not too happy about, which is causing a clunk. We're going to start from the interior because I've got to take the center console out to get to the remote shifter to take that out. Yes, this ain't right. You can see right. Oh, maybe not for. That's not just the selector housing moving. I'll jack the car up, remove the clutch hose, the speedo cable, the starter motor. Now we can make a start on, and the prop shaft, before I forget that, can't forget that. And then the bolts that hold the bell housing to the engine. Then we'll drop the gearbox, have a look at it, make a decision from there. I'm tempted at the minute, because I've got to take this out and it's potentially threads that are difficult to access. If they need helicoiling, I might as well strip the gearbox down and have a look inside and see what it's like after a couple of years of use. You never know. So come with me and let's see what happens. So that's not good. Now if I bring it around to the front, you'll see that bolt isn't there anymore, and I haven't removed it, which means it removed itself at high speed. Fortunately, there's no damage to anything that I can see. That crack was already there, unfortunately, which is another reason I'm going to say what I'm going to say in a minute. And there's more play on the input shaft, so that's clearly taken some of this load. So the last time I drove it, it was changing gears fine, drove fine, didn't have any problems with anything other than the startup clunk. So I think I'm okay. I've dropped the oil on this, and there isn't anything to be worried about. I'm quite happy that this would go again. Granted, new bell housing, I'll change the bearings as a matter of course, given what's happened. But I want to make some changes anyway. So I think this is a good time, even though the weather's suddenly got really good, to start thinking about the future of the Cortina, because I really enjoyed doing some long distance driving in it and I want to use it. I enjoy driving it. I think it could be better. So what does that mean next? I have thought about doing an engine swap. I'm not going to lie, I have thought about changing the Cortina's engine. Mainly because it's got a lot of problems that, such as oil seals and the leaks from those oil seals. It's really embarrassing pulling away from somewhere and seeing you've left a patch. Now, I have got an idea on how I'm going to fix that, and that is something what I want to try and do first, because I like the pre-crossflow. It's the engine that was fitted to it. I've always had this idea, ever since I've owned the car, that I wanted a period-tuned car. Period-tuned engine, definitely. A couple of tweaks, a bit of modernisation so you can live with it, but always like the idea of it being a tuned pre-crossflow. Definitely not a crossflow. I think if you're going to swap an engine, do it for something better. I think the crossflow is a bit of a sidestep. Fight me in the comments. But what else is out there? It's hard to ignore the Z-Tech. Dave Collige's work is brilliant. I think now you can buy a cross member either for the steering box or a rack and pinion kit, which I've priced up, but can't really justify that. And if you can almost make a Z-Tech a bolt-in conversion, which Dave almost has, it's really interesting, but Z-Techs are getting a little bit scarce now, unfortunately. And I think I like the idea of keeping it forward, but let's have a look. The Duratec would be cool. I think Dave College is working on some kits now that will fit that into a Cortina. I've seen some in some Escorts, but the problem I see is the exhaust is on the driver's side, which is the steering box side, and the handbrake side, which are two things I kind of want to keep. Steering box, because I kind of like the 60s feel of the way it drives, and the handbrake on the dash is just awesome, and it always throws people out. So it's a little bit of a no on that, although all aluminium would drop some serious weight off that front end. I know it's not heavy, but light is light. Four-H, another cool engine, and apparently one that was based off the BDA, which is based off the Crosslow, which is based off the pre-Crosslow. So it's tenuous, but it would be kind of cool. And again, a pretty old engine now. If you can find a decent one, although it's going to need a rebuild, there's plenty of parts out there, and plenty of tuning bits as well. You can go NA, turbo, supercharger. But again, it's trying to find the right one and a good one. And trying to find the T50 gearbox that goes on it is a question itself. So I'm going to probably rule that one out. Similar to the 4H, there's plenty of MX5s out there, particularly 1.6s, because nobody really wants that engine outside of an MX5. And let's be honest, it makes similar power to a Lotus. The inlet and exhaust are on the right side, so I keep the exhaust system the right way. I haven't got to worry about putting an exhaust around the around the steering box. It's tempting. You can pick engines up really cheaply, surprisingly. And again, loads of tuning parts, and reliability is really good on these. So, one to think about. And the last one, I'm going to put this in here for someone, and that is James Gear from Resto Nation. Because every time I mention something about this engine, he's like, put an RX-8 engine in it. And yeah, you could. Or you could not. Mainly because I don't know anything about rotaries. They are a little bit scary, and this is probably me getting things totally wrong. But I am worried about the threat of an engine wearing itself after 50,000 miles. If I wanted that, I'd keep the pre-Crossflow. And let's be honest, they make about the same torque. I'm sorry, dude, but it's a no. So with that in mind, first off, it's what we're going to do about the gearboxes, because this 2008 needs some work, but I've also been out and done something. Bought a couple of gearboxes, haven't I? So let's do a bit of a gearbox roundup, and I'll introduce what I've done. Start with a 2000E gearbox. I do like the way this drives. It's got the ratios from a Mk1 Lotus, which have been really good, great round town. Only problem is, when I get on the motorway and I want to go somewhere, it's really difficult sitting at fourth, and it's screaming, and you can't have a conversation, and it's not great really for comfort. I know that's not necessarily what the car is designed for, but this is what I want to use it for. Pros are that it fits, cons are it's just difficult to use on a long journey. Next up is the RX-8 gearbox that I have owned for about a year now. It's a 6-speed gearbox. Apparently this is the one to use if you're going to put this on an old Ford, because it's quite a close ratio box. Looks pretty good, but it is chunky, especially when you compare it to the pre-Crossflow. I have already bought an adapter plate, and I have actually tried it on a spare block of mine, and you can see it's quite big. But the problem I've got with it is the bell housing is also quite wide, and that means that the exhaust manifold would either need to be modified to work around it, or I need to make a new manifold, which I'd like to do, but I'd rather not do it right now. Finally, it's the Mk1 gearbox. It's my 1.6 Mark 1. Looking at it, it's a lot similar in dimension to the 2000E. Bell housing isn't as wide, so the exhaust should be okay. And the gear selector, once I've got an adapter plate on it, will only be about between 5 and 10 mil further forward. So I don't think I need to do much work to get the center console to fit without actually damaging the center console beyond repair. It's quite a light gearbox, and there are options to put a quick shift on it, which is nice. So for that reason, I think this is the one I'm going to go with. So I hope you found that interesting. I've got quite a few plans coming up. The reason I've been a bit aloof about it is because I'm waiting for stuff to come in to make sure it fits before I properly commit and make myself look like a bit of an idiot. But I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and give me a like, and be constructive, but let me know what you think, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.